So what did you think about Amazon Go in the previous lecture? I'm certain that there is an entire segment of the population that would be very interested in not having to wait in the checkout line. Sam's Club has inched a bit closer to this technology, as you can scan all of the items you placed in your cart using your phone and check out with the press of a button. When leaving the store, they do check your cart and compare what you bought with what you are leaving with. But it works for me. In this lecture, we will examine some of the strategic issues that arise in our study of consumer behavior, specifically with regards to market segmentation. Think back to our discussion of supermarkets and how it was noted that some shoppers prefer a store like Whole Foods due to the availability of fresh, organic products, while others prefer a low-cost retailer. What determines which segment a consumer belongs in the supermarket space? While economics certainly plays a part, it is also the consumer psychology and personality that drive their decisions. If marketers want to have any hope of attracting and retaining customers, managers must understand consumer behavior. So let's take a look at segmentation. As you well know from your previous classes, market segmentation is the process of splitting an overall market into two or more groups of consumers. Each of these groups must be similar in terms of certain characteristics or needs. By segmenting the market, managers are able to identify target markets and have a greater understanding of the members of the segments they have targeted. This understanding also allows managers to develop a better marketing mix that attracts the target market and identify new market opportunities. Relatedly, managers are also able to better differentiate their offerings from competitors. Let's consider the car buying market. While there will be other reasons, the primary reason that buyers seek to own an automobile is transportation. But even within that market, there are buyers who have different preferences for solving this need. While there are many other need segments, let's focus on three: low-cost buyers, luxury buyers, and performance buyers. While some manufacturers attempt to serve all three markets, it does prove difficult as consumer perception plays a key role in what brands we would consider. For example, Lexus is perceived as a luxury brand, and prices for their cars range between $33,000 and $78,000. Imagine how consumers would perceive the Lexus brand if they offered an automobile in the $12,000 range. An action of this type would reduce the overall appeal for the brand. A couple of other interesting notes about the car market. In 2015, Costco sold 465,000 vehicles through partnerships it has with dealerships. AutoNation, the largest auto dealer network in the country, also sold 465,000 vehicles. One of the key reasons that members shop through Costco is their fixed prices. Another interesting note is that in China, the most successful car salespeople are female. Let's look at things from a bit of a different perspective. Consider Kellogg's, the breakfast cereal company located in Battle Creek, Michigan. How have shifts in consumer behavior impacted the company? For one, due to a variety of issues, consumers have become more pressed for time and have started changing their breakfast habits. Now, I'm a bit old school and think breakfast is the most important meal of the day. And in fact, I sometimes think that I'm part hobbit, as I have been known to enjoy a second breakfast. But research suggests that people are sleeping less and are finding they don't have as much time in the morning to eat at home. So they might pick up something on the way to work, eat something quick like yogurt, or skip breakfast altogether. For a company steep in the breakfast market, this is troubling for the 111-year-old company. If you're Kellogg's, the data in this chart would give you some concern. As you can see, cereal sales have fallen each of the last 3 years, while yogurt and egg sales have increased in the last 5 years. There are many different reasons for this decline in cereal sales, such as changing diet and busier schedules. These are two that come to mind. But if you're Kellogg's, you might realize you have a problem. Taking the information in this slide into account, which is who's skipping breakfast, there's more concerning news for Kellogg's. Younger people are more likely to skip breakfast than their older peers. Is it a trend, which means that younger people who aren't eating breakfast now will continue to skip the morning meal? Or is it an indication of the differences between various age groups based on their current circumstances? Perhaps these skippers will come back to eating breakfast once they get older. Because of the issues they faced, Kellogg's commissioned a research study, and they wanted to see if they could understand the different segments for the breakfast market. Their research basically found 5 segments of the on-the-go breakfast eaters, and they identified these groups as discerning dashers, gulpin' runners, ninja munchers, sedentary socializers, and the sit and savorers. Let's look at each of these. The first group, discerning dashers, they're about an average age of about 38 years old. They tend to be about even male-female. They're avid enthusiasts of music. They're single, employed, and are the youngest segment. If you look at what their favorite choices are, these are handheld items to go. They're, as the quote here says, I am usually rushing in the morning, so my dining habits are typically on the go. But they kind of snack throughout the morning. Eating baked goods, bagels, fruit, and things like this. They shop at quick serve restaurants, convenience stores, vending machines, and these are one of those groups that are basically moving away from having either an Eggo or cereal or things that Kellogg's offers in the morning. The next group, gulpin' runners, they will often skip meals if they know they're going to have a big meal later in the day. Oftentimes they'll just have something to drink, such as juice or coffee. Maybe they'll have a banana or like an energy bar or things like this. But again, they're the same. They're not eating at breakfast at home. The third group, what they call ninja munchers, average about age of 45 and typically lean toward being more female. They're enthusiastic about crafts and concerts, and they have a very busy lifestyle. And they go through drive-through windows, grab something maybe at work, but again, they're not eating breakfast at home. So what Kellogg's is trying to do is they're trying to get an understanding of who these groups are, and maybe find ways to meet some of their needs. Maybe not with their traditional cereals, but with other products. The fourth group is called the sedentary socializers. They like having a lot of different options to pick through. They will eat at full service restaurants, some drive-throughs. They tend to be a little bit older. The average age here is 44, but they look for things that are, a little bit better of quality. And they realize that breakfast may be important, but again, they are still busy and don't have time to eat. The last group we're going to talk about is the sit and savorers. These tend to be a little bit older. 51 years old is the average age. 60% of them are women. They like to eat in restaurants, full service or fast food restaurants. They sit down, they take their time. So they do eat a good breakfast. However, they are not eating Kellogg's. So they're trying to find, again, Kellogg's is trying to find ways to be able to tap into these groups, to be able to find ways to either pull them back into the cereal or some of their other breakfast offerings, or find new products. Based on their research, Kellogg's has introduced some new products that can be eaten on the go, such as the Nutri-Grain bars or Special K crackers, or stored in a break room refrigerator, such as Kellogg's Moe's Southwest Grill breakfast bowls. These are different ways that they're trying to adapt to the changing market. The next thing I want to look at is perceptual map, which is basically a graphical representation of the perception consumers have for brands in relation to other brands. In this example, consumers feel that Volkswagen is slightly more affordable than Honda. but Honda is perceived to be more sporty than Volkswagen. Keep in mind that this example is very different from the one you will be working on with your homework assignment and is presented only as a point of discussion. So if we look at a perceptual map, what we can do is we can see how consumers perceive different brands based on different criteria. In this case, it's either the sporty or traditional car versus a luxury or affordable. So what we're looking at is how people, again, perceive things. Managers can use this to identify where their brand is fitting in the marketplace. They can also use it to perhaps identify new opportunities about where things could be. In that regard, it's kind of hard with just this graphical representation. Sometimes you need a little bit more data, which your homework assignment can provide for you. Now, the last thing I want to talk about this week is customer lifetime value. This is basically the economic worth that a customer delivers to a lifetime with a firm. It basically looks at how much money is one firm going to gain from having you as a customer. For example, if you look at Kleenex and their tissues, how much do you think that you are worth if you're a customer of theirs? The average customer, basically over their lifetime, is worth about $300 and some change in there over their lifetime. So again, every customer that they have is worth $300, let's say. Well, it's important to take care of every customer to make sure that you get that maximum value from them. And then this cartoon states, basically, wow, you treat that customer like so well, and they only spent $3. And the manager is basically looking at it, well, on average, our customer is worth over $10,000 of their lifetime, whether they spend $3 or $300. Always treat them like they are worth $10,000. It's good advice to take with you. So that's basically it for the week. But you do have a couple of things left. One, make sure you read The Elements of Value. It's a great Harvard Business Review article that I hope will help you understand the concept of value a little bit more. Make sure you take quiz number 2, and also do your homework of the perceptual map. Next week, we're going to start Module 2 by looking at the internal influences, and specifically the lecture is going to be related to perception. Have a great week, and I look forward to seeing you again next week.